What's up, everybody? It's your boy Simon from Siphon T. C. Ignore the stuff in the back. G. I don't really, to be honest, those just fell off my bed. I have a big stack of cards on my bed. Just ignore it. But I'm back with another video, and I know it's been a while. I've been on the grind recently. Just come back from Battle Hard in Columbus and an LCQ. Didn't have the result I was looking for. Obviously, with all the time and work, I was at least hoping to get my invite based off of one of them, but that's okay. We put on a very good showing in the LCQ and the Battle Harden. I had a lot of players compliment my play and my thought process because, as a very thorough player, you know, people are able to read what I'm talking about. And obviously, like after the game, I talked with my opponents about everything, and a lot of people wanted just to pick my brain. And the funny part is, I went to there to pick a lot of high-level players' brains, and a lot of people are sitting there asking me for my list, asking me for tips and stuff, and it's a great feeling, right? Someone that started playing in April, to already now have people asking you for your opinion on stuff and want to learn from you. It is one of the greatest feelings. Actually, I had a comment on my YouTube videos. A player ran into me at a RTN, and someone across this video said, "Hey man, it was a great match. Had fun, learned a lot." I was like, "Dude, that's great. Like that's great that people are learning from us." I know someone DM'd me on Discord recently saying they actually ran into my Lexi versus 5 video and they learned a lot from it. And that is just a heartwarming thing. And I just want to thank you guys who are watching the videos. It means a lot. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and it is pushing me to obviously do more content. I'll be real with you. Once I got home, I went to sleep. I started tossing and turning. I was just like, I had all these people asking me for deck tech, advice, and all that stuff. And it's like, I have a voice, and I'm wanting just to lay down my bed. And I thought, no, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna push out some content because people are wanting it, and let's do it. So today we have a Lexi deck tech. I'll open this as an ice Lexi deck tech, and the way I'm going to be doing my IRL deck techs like this is I will have the deck spread into certain parts, and I'll explain what the parts. Obviously, this is my hero and equipment. Specifically for the Lexi deck tech, we have cards that gain tempo, our main damage cards, utility, power cards. So look, the way I like to play Lexi and explain to people with Lexi is mostly my ice cards are there to gain me tempo in the game, like remove strip cards from their hand, you know, give frostbites, etc., etc. These are how I kill my opponents. These are like the main damage cards, the cards that allow me to go wide. These are utility. These are there for, you know, just some control. They're not really pushing any damage or any on-hit effects. It's just there to disrupt my opponent in some way or shape or form. And obviously these are our power cards. And I do apologize about the glare here. There's not much I can really do about it. Like I've tried to change my lighting. I'll obviously do my best, but let's go ahead and start. So we have Lexi Livewire obviously, and we have Voltaire. Like this is pretty simple. Realistically, Lexi should only be using Voltaire. I don't see a ton of validity to using anything else, like maybe a Death Dealer if you really just want to go a tall version. But I think Lexi obviously benefits the most off of a very utility, wider focused build, which Voltaire uses quite nicely. And it being instant speed can get around a lot of things. It does allow you to set up that 6-card hand more often than not. We have New Horizons. Again, only headpiece you should be running. I don't see an argument for literally running anything else. Obviously, if you just don't own one and you have to use a different headpiece, that is fine. But one of the first things, if you ever plan on playing Lexi, one of your first purchases should be a New Horizons before you buy anything else. That would be the first thing, like over Tunic, over anything else. Get your New Horizons. Next, we have our chess pieces. I ran Tunic and Heart of Ice. Heart of Ice was actually a last minute addition. I watched Yuki Lee Bender's deck tech on the Arsenal Pass channel, and I already seen it once and wasn't really impressed by Heart of Ice, but then seeing the rise of Icelander and I knew there possibly would be a few Kanos there, I was like, I would be very, very upset if I didn't bring at least more additional AB. Because your arms do offer AB, but sometimes you would need the additional, and obviously, when it comes to things like Channel Link Frigid and stuff like that, or just, getting cute with mana, there are some cute things you can get mana I might go over in this video. Heart of Ice actually just does a lot, so I definitely do like it. Then we have Tunic. Obviously, you are playing a long game. You're not ever killing your opponent very early, outside of like an extremely disgusting high roll that is almost impossible, I would say. I have yet to see Lexi's just mow over their opponent by turn 4, unless their opponent just did not block or physically could not block. So Tunic, you're going to a long game. You're going to want to play it. Next, we have the arm piece. The only arm piece I currently run is Bullseye Bracers. I know a lot of people do run Shock Charmers, and I think if I was to ever increase my blue count, which there's a chance I do, with all the ice and disruption in the meta, maybe Shock Charmers would be nice. Just having, like, sometimes you have extra mana on your turns, be able to dump that into Shock Charmers and give additional on-hit effects to your stuff can actually be very nice sometimes. I just don't see in the current meta it actually being that consistent. And again, just having the strip Arcane Barrier just naturally is going to be pretty nice in some matchups. And obviously the active is pretty good, just not you put something in your arsenal and get a +1. I did a lot of cute plays with that today. Next we have our 2 boots. Snapdragon and Perch Clappers. I will openly say, obviously Snapdragons you understand, don't need to talk about it. Perch Clappers actually overperformed for me this weekend. I brought it in against Dromai, and I brought it in against the Mirror, and my opponents were very caught off guard by this. And not because of the active. Obviously, the active did come in handy the one match where I actually popped it. I think it was the Lexi Mirror match where I actually popped this and just went off. It actually gives you the 2 block. And so if you look at some of Lexi's other equipment, right, is you have New Horizons. It can block for 2. Until late game, you're really not blocking with this. So you don't have a block here. Heart of Ice blocks for 1. Has Blade Break. It's not big. Tunic blocks for 1. Not big. You're also really not one to block with these early. Your arms do not block for anything. Snapdragon says do not block for anything. So there's a few key times where you are forced to block, where this 2 block actually comes in handy more often than you actually think. And I definitely think people should be looking more into matches where Perch Clappers is good. And even if you don't use the block, if your hand has a lot of mana and you have a 6-card hand and you have some of your power cards like 3 of a kind Art of War, popping this can. I attacked 5 times in one turn with this, and I probably could have attacked more if I just sequenced things better. This card is definitely, like, a lot of people sleep on this, and this definitely needs more attention. If you don't have Perch Clappers in your deck, put it in your deck, and then look at some of the matchups, and you'll see where this card can actually shine. Not like the sleeve is shining, but you can actually see where this card shines. So that's the equipment. Pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a lot of contingency there. Alright, first, we're going to have the tempo gainers. So, again, what these cards are aiming to do is, I am behind, I need to get in the lead. I am in the lead, I need to keep the lead. So, first, we will have 2 Red Ice Quake, 1 yellow, 3 blue. So originally I was on 3 reds, 3 blues. But again, going back to Yuki's deck guide, the thing I actually really liked about the yellow, when it came to mana, it was a very efficient card, because Icequake is a card I want to play and pitch, and that's where yellow comes in very handy. Obviously, I can only run a max of 3 blues. Obviously, if I could run more, I'll probably just run this as a 4th blue. But obviously the yellow does just fine. And the one big thing is, just like all your fuse arrows, is this makes it to where your opponent is going to have to block. Your opponent cannot let you just... Alright, that's super awkward. My headset just died live. Um, I might cut this out, I don't know. But this is a card that your opponent will have to interact with because you're going to be boosting your attacks. Well, your first attack, that's already huge. And then everything in the line that hits will gain them a frostbite. So they have one or two options. Take hits and make their turn harder. They'll keep cards in hand, but then actually playing their turn will be harder. B, they'll block the cards, and now their punchback is way less. Um, this is obviously just one of the big cards in the deck, and you really need to utilize this. I will never just throw this out if I can only block attack once. I want to be able to at least attack twice, and be able to go at least a little bit tall with those effects, or those effects have additional hit effects. To really make the big use out of this card, you need to tell your opponent you are going to like get hurt, you are going to get effed up if you do not interact with this card. That was quick. Next, not really going in order with cards. Oh, here it is. We have 3 red and 3 yellow fatigue shot. I've been on red yellow fatigue shot for a while. Originally it was like this, but then when Prism went away and I knew a lot of Odoms and Bravos becoming, I did think the 6th was very, very necessary, and it actually worked very well. So against like an average Odom turn where they're running Hammer, this doesn't affect them a lot, but this pretty much forces them to say that will now be what I do. Because if this hits and they try to go for like Macho Grande Dominate, alright, instead of coming for 8, now it's coming for 4, and you can easily block that. Or honestly, you could just take that. It's a vanilla damage, yes, but it's not damage that's really nice, because the fact that they have Dominate, getting under certain life totals, is very scary. So something like this will pretty much be able to dissuade them be able to swing a lot. This definitely is a card I personally also pitch early. So I might swing with like a yellow, maybe 2 yellows and a red. But these I'm definitely going to be pitching for late game. Keeping these for late game, because this late game can literally just be a backbreaker. Because obviously you're going to be pitching Rain Razors and your Art of Wars late. Or you're going to be setting them up to combo with cards like this. And I remember one game, I went Rain Razor, swung this for 9. My opponent Odom blocked with like all their equipment and then like 1 card. Was able to Art of War this. It came in for 10, leaked 1. They still had 2 cards in hand and an arsenal, and then I could just feel their heart sink, because my opponent was actually setting up a Okanode Fused, and instead of coming in for 7, it came in for 4, and that I was able to easily block. And this was late game. I was able to block with what's it called? New Horizons. God dang it. No, I blocked with Tunic and 1 card from hand, so I kept 2 cards in Arsenal. Going into the next turn. And it just gave me so much tempo, all because this card says you are going to need to interact with this, or your attacks aren't going to do anything to me. The thing you're scared of in Lexi is if someone's hitting you for like 8 on hit, do something. And if now it's 4 on hit, do something, you're like, okay. I can either A, easy block that, or B, the damage plus the effect isn't enough for me to care. I know it's a really big thing I talked about fatigue shot, but it is a card that has overperformed this weekend, and I'm glad I upped the numbers of it. Next, we have Red Yellow Chilling Ice Fang. There was a point where I was running Rainbow Chilling Ice Fang, only because in this aggro meta, Chilling Ice Fang is so good, and even the coming in for 3, even if it's not pumped with anything else, they still need to interact with that, because if that's hit, they're going to lose the card anyway. So pretty much the blue would be like, come in for 3, they're going to be like, well, I'm going to lose the card anyway, so I might as well just block that. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to go take 3 and lose the card anyway, so like they'll soak damage. Um, I end up cutting it only because in case it was more Guardian heavy, this doesn't do much against Guardian. And at the LCQ and the Battle Harden, there was a lot of Guardian, so I am glad I didn't go Rainbow. But if your local meta has a lot of aggro, running Rainbow of this is really freaking good. Especially if you're running a heavy ice package to make sure you can consistently infuse this. Love Chilling Ice Fang. We have Frostlock, another card that overperformed. There was a lot of Briars, a lot of Viscerais, a lot of Fies. And this just says, either A, you need a block 4 minimum, or you don't get to play the game next turn. Like your deck is now turned off. And I had a lot of people, I would be like, Frostfang Fused, coming in for 4 with Go Again. And then they're just like, they're just reading it. And they're understanding. Like, this is one of the cards that don't have like an effect that happens the whole entire chain. But leading off with this card is huge for 2 reasons. One, you will get guaranteed blocks out of this against aggro decks. Like, they will not let this hit, or they're not playing the game. And then B, the static effect on Frostlock is super huge because it lasts for the whole entire chain. Unless for some reason you close the chain. And even if you do, it actually still stays. So this literally says, hey, you got D-React, you got activated abilities on your equipment. Give me some more resources. This literally, it probably was the single best card I played throughout the whole entire weekend. It hurts pretty much every single deck in some kind of way. Whether it's the static effect, making them things cost more, or the on-hit effect, saying you aren't going to play the game unless you give me like 2 cards or 1 card and an equipment. This being blocked by equipment feels so freaking nice too. Having a very low power card being blocked with equipment, because the worst thing you'd want is have a big turn, come in for like 7 on a card, and they just block with 2 equipment and a card from hand. You're like, oh well. They still have 3 cards in hand, and if you don't really get to attack many more times, you're going to be doing a lot less damage than you would have thought. So this getting equipment is really freaking nice too. I got pretty much someone's equipment 80% of the time, and that just felt really nice. Even equipment that blocked for like 2 Blade Break, they had to give it to me. Because this is just such a devastating effect for them to go against. We have 3 Blizzard Bolt. Going forward, I might run red. I am still unsure. Red, I don't want... Having a higher density of 1 attack arrows kind of defeats the purpose of what this deck is. But red Blizzard Bolt coming in for 5 fuse is really, really nice, especially if you can pump it. Because the thing about the number 5, which is interesting, because this either requires 2 cards to be fully blocked, or this requires an equipment block. Because with 4, they can go block with a 1 toughness equipment that just has like Battle Worn or doesn't have Blade Break, 1 card from hand, fully block. I don't lose much. It now coming for 5 says, give me equipment that has 2 that might have Blade Break or Temper, and a card from hand. And especially if I'm leading off with this, this means the rest of the attacks in the chain are going to say, give me 2 cards, give me 2 cards. And a lot of times people just can't. They just cannot consistently do that. Because if you let Lexi just constantly time walk you, you will lose. I can't tell you how many people actually time walked multiple turns in a row. One of the famous things that people referenced in the tournament, and I was the talk of the tournament Saturday, I believe it was. I had a bunch of people watching my game versus Oldham, which is a matchup I was very nervous about going against because I have an Oldham at locals, which I don't do very well against. I 36 0'd the Oldham I played. And the only reason I was at 36 is because it was his first attack with Winter's Well. And I had double blue, so I didn't really care about the Frostbite, so I was just like, cool, I'll take it. Little did either one of us know, that was the last bit of damage he was going to do for the rest of the game. And it was just because I'm presenting like the Blizzard Bolt, Chilling Ice Fang. I'm giving them all these on-hit effects that he must now deal with, and usually they can't. If you're able to go wide and tall enough, like some mixture. Obviously, going wide more than tall is better against Odom because Odom can block very well. So if you're able to go wider with on-hit effects, it's a little bit better. But Blizzard Bolt Yellow was slightly underwhelming. I brought it in against a lot of aggro decks. I might either just make these red or go to red yellow. I don't know. Blue, definitely not impressed with. Because the difference between this and like Chilling Ice Fang Blue is if it hits, it says give me a card, so they're giving you a card no matter what. If it just hits for 3 and it's a Frostbite, they can probably still play if it's a deck that has a decent amount of blues. So I won't run the blue, but the red is something I'm definitely going to be looking at. Lastly, we have a non-attack, but this just says, hey, half of the decks in the format, you don't have a turn. I run 2 Hypothermia. I was on 3. The reason I don't want to run 3 is it can get a little bit clunky in your hand because the main way you win the game is obviously dealing damage to your opponent, and this does not deal damage. If you do want to run 3, I totally do understand, especially you have a lot of aggro. Into decks like Odom, and if they're not on like heavy aggro, and they're going like Zealous Bolting into like Winter's Will or Sledge, this card is not getting a lot of mileage against like Bravo, Odom, and stuff like that. But against like the Lexis, the Dories, the Briars, this card overperforms. So I think 2 is a very nice. My philosophy with a lot of cards: 3 if you want to open it, 2 if you want to draw it, 1 if you just want to naturally just like see it and draw like in a close situation. And I think two of these fits that bill. I just want to draw it. I don't really want to open in this because opening this I'm just going to pitch it. And then if I don't see the second cycle, I just kind of wasted a really good card in my hand. So I think 2 of these is perfect. I will not change that. Next, we have our damage dealers. This is how we like to close the game. This is how we like to push damage. First, we have 3 lightning strikes. 3 lightning sword red. One card I will be adding to the deck is lightning sword 1, lightning sword blue. Only reason is I definitely like this card more than I thought I would. This weekend, just putting this in Arsenal, flipping it up, loading an arrow, and giving a +1 that has go again, and then coming in with this for 4 go again. So like if your turn is like flip lightning surge, give an extra go again, load fatigue shot, give a +1, coming for 5 go again. On hit that 1 floating, load Voltaire, load a 0 Recall Arrow, give it go again. Coming for this go again. Like there's a lot of cute things you can do. This gives you so much flexibility, and being able to arsenal this is just so freaking nice, man. I cannot tell you enough how nice it is. Knowing you can freely arsenal this, and your next turn is going to be nice, because you can, so instead of just having to give your arrow go again, which will lessen your damage, you can just give a +1, and can sometimes present a unique breakpoint. Unique breakpoints is one big thing in this game that it's really hard to get down. The difference between like 5 and 6 is huge. You're like, oh, it's just 1 damage. Well, if you're presenting 6 damage, your opponent doesn't get punished for blocking with 2 cards. But the difference between 6 and 7, especially if you're showing on hit effects, is absolutely massive. Because now they have to give you a 3rd card, or they're going to take 1 and stick with the on hit effect. The difference between 3 and 4 is I can give you 1 card, now you have to give me 2 cards, or a card in equipment, or this 1 damage is going to leak through. And that's what this card enables a lot, actually. And I was very, very impressed with this card, and that's one reason I'm adding blue. This gives me another blue pitch, obviously, and then even just flipping over the blue just gives something go again. Coming for 2 go again with that, I think is just enough. And like I said, very, very impressed with the card. Next, we have 3 red endless arrows. One of the best cards in the deck, obviously. Being able to force damage through on this is one of the best things you can do. This is an easy lightning press target, an easy Art of War target. Rain Razoring this is also amazing. Like, any way you can force damage through with Rain Razors, I would do it. And now with Endless Arrow, I would do it. Because just the value this has. Going in for load endless arrow, coming for 4 go again. Your opponent's not gonna like taking that, so they're probably gonna block, right? Because the value of you just going 0 for 4 go again, this comes back to hand, loading it again, 0 for 4 go again. That now becomes a 0 for 8. If you told me this card was a 0 for 8, you tell me this card's broken. And that's what this card is if your opponent does not officially block this. So this a lot of times will get 2 cards from your hand, which is absolutely amazing, especially if this is like leading off in your chain or at the end of the chain. That's the best 2 spots for it. Literally just putting this in arsenal and keeping it in arsenal literally just puts fear into your opponent, because at any point in time you can go play Icequake, play Endless Arrow for 7, 7 on hit comes back to my hand, on hit to create a Frostbite. They're going I'll give you 3 cards. You're like, cool. Snapdragon Scalers. Then you could just go off with the rest of your turn, or you can go come in for 7. They block with 2 cards. 1 leaks through. This comes back. You can give it going if you so choose. This come in with it again. This card literally says, I want 2 cards from your hand, or this is going to end badly for you. And be able just to end your chain with this, even if it's just put it in chain, come in for 5, it hits, cool, bring it back to my hand, I'm guaranteed an arsenal. No other, that is probably one of the best feelings, knowing you can end your chain with an endless arrow, and it comes back to your hand, and you're guaranteed an arsenaled arrow, importantly. Not an arsenal card, an arsenaled arrow. Next, you have 2 blue headshots. I am kind of mad on this card. Again, I don't like having a lot of 1-cost attacks. And I think the biggest value this happens just to be a blue that can also attack for 4. So on rate, it's not horrible, but I definitely might try to explore other spots with this card. That's about all I can say. Like, it's decent. There's not a lot of things better than it, but again, I'm probably taking this out. Yeah. 2 Dazzling Crescendo. So Yuki kind of explained this pretty well, because I was not a fan of this card originally, because most lists are running Lightning Surge and Lightning Press, so it's 6 cards. You're not likely to be able to fuse this, but the way she explained it to me, it's just a 0 for 4, right? And then when you explain it just like that, that's pretty good. Especially if you can buff it, if you can actually just give it natural william by fusing it, you can go load Dazzler Crescendo, give it +1. Now you can go combo with Dazzler Crescendo, show Lightning Press. Well, now your opponent's just like, well, now I'm gonna take I'm gonna take 5. It's a vanilla 5, so they'll probably take it. But now they have to block very specifically for the rest of the turn, or you can just keep the Lightning Press, right? Showing that Lightning Press does a lot. Now, like I said, they have to block very specifically. You can end up Lightning Press. This comes for 8. A 0 for 8, go again, is pretty nice. Again, if you just said this card is a 0 for, not 0 for 8, 0, yeah, actually, yes, 0 for 8, because you're going to give this +1. You would say, yeah, this card's broken. So, that is the reason that this is played. Obviously, Lightning Lexi uses this a tiny bit better. But I think it is fine in this deck, because we're more of a hybrid version of the deck. 3 Pathing Helix. Obviously, it's just a 0 for 4 with reload. Not much more you can ask for. A lot of times, if you give this go again, opponents will block this, because then they just can be led to getting blown out. I think one of the coolest things I did is I was like 3 of a kind. Load Pathing Helix, give this go again. Opponent was just like, it's just 4, he has to go again. I'll probably block more important things in the chain. I drew a second 3 of a kind, loaded the 3 of a kind from the hand, played the 3 of a kind from my arsenal, and then my opponent was just like, oh my lord, I should just block the Pathing Helix. And that's the kind of situations this card can put people in. This is not a card that they love blocking just because it's just 4 damage a lot of the times, but just the rate of what this card can become. That's what people need to look at, not what this card is now. This is just a 0 for 4 to you, but to me, this could be a 0 for like 7, because maybe I can load another like another arrow or and shoot it, or I can load an art of war, 3 of a kind, and do something else with it. And because most opponents won't look at the card like this, they will not. They will always let this go through. Now, obviously, smart opponents who understand what Lexi can do in the range of Lexi, they will correctly block this. Especially if I lead this off in the chain and I don't have any other cards. Yeah, so like this coming out for 0 for 4, and I have Snapdragon Scalers up. My opponent, my opponent now knows like they have to block it, because here's the thing: coming for 0 for 4, I have 3 cards in hand. I'm just chilling. Opponent's like, well, if I say no blocks, he just gives this go again, and if this hits, I just get blown out. Because then you can load like the searing shot, load another arrow, give it go again, and you can start spitting damage out. And that's all because you got a free reload off this. You don't have to use any resources. Now, obviously, you won't get the effect of like Voltaire giving something go again or something like that, but that's actually fine. More often than not, because you can play around it very well. 3 searing shot. This is a card I was very low on at the time. But again, hearing Yuki talk about the card, it's just another 0 for 4, but it's actually 0 for 5 because of the on hit. And this is a card a lot of times will just get through. It doesn't have like an actual on hit effect, and that's what not a lot of people block. So a lot of times you can just deal a free 5 damage in a combat chain, and I don't think there's much more you can ask for a 0 for 5 go again. Searing shot, very solid card. We have Rainbow Bolt and Shot, like much more. I don't know much more of what you want me to say. This is a 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 5 with natural go again. Not natural go again, but conditional go again, but more oftentimes than not, you play it, you'll have go again. And now, even a blue one, like this is coming in for 3. Your opponent's like, well, it's 3 go again. He doesn't have any cards in Arsenal. I kind of want to block this because, again, this could lead to me blowing out. Because I could go Fire Blue Bolt and Shot with go again. It hits, reload. Load a regular Bolt and Shot. Fire Bolt and Shot for 4. They're like no blocks. I respond Art of War, give it +1/+1, mana draw 2. I'll draw my 2 cards, this gets reload. And then just keep going. Like, you can just get really, really large turns off a Bolt and Shot. And it's a card they have to block because you will get too much value. That's the big thing with Lexi. Is there's a lot of value just built into the deck that will force your opponent to interact. And Bolt and Shot is one of those cards. I would never go shorter than Rainbow. Like, maybe if you really wanted to cut, you could cut like a blue and then like a yellow, or maybe just the yellows you could cut and just keep the blues. But I personally would not retro Lexi deck without Rainbow. I think Bone Shot is just that good where you really just want to run this in Rainbow. Alright. Next, we have just some utility cards. 3 Arctic Incarceration. The best thing you can do with this card is it be an Arsenal. You go activate Lexi, reveal Arctic Incarceration, and then at some point in the chain, your opponent knows they're either going to get another 3 Frostbites, so they're going to have 4 Frostbites, it's going to make their turn difficult, or you get the 1 Frostbite, and now you can just sit in an Arsenal. And any time where you need it, you can have a big turn and they maybe don't block you, so you do a bunch of damage. Like, okay, so you want to keep your hand? Cool, this says give me an extra card on your turn. And it's really hard for them to play around. This is like probably one of the simplest cards in the game, but one of the hardest cards to play around, especially in a deck like Lexi. So like Icelander plays this card, but Icelander plays it in blue. And yeah, it can play at instant speed and it gives 2 Frostbite, but this is literally flip it, give you a Frostbite, play it, give you 3, you have 4 Frostbites, and a lot of decks that aren't running heavy blues cannot get past this. Right, some decks that can is like a heavy blue dash, but then the turn's still going to be kind of awkward. Bravo can like swing Sledge, or I think it's Anthos actually at you by pitching a bunch. Odom can still swing a winner as well, but the rest of the decks will have trouble having 4 Frostbites. I mean, heck, you go into Lexi Mirror, you're like, here's 4 frostbites, have fun doing anything to me, and your opponent's just like, I guess I'll pitch 2 blues to be able to load this arrow. I have 2 mana left. This turn's gonna be crap. And you will just get so much simple this card specifically. And it's a 0 cost as well, which is also super huge because a lot of times you will be using all your resources in a turn. There are some times where you have some resources left over, but a lot of times just use all your resources exactly and just being able to just cleanly play this for 0 is really nice. I love this card. Next we have Lightning Press. So the reason I call this a utility card is this says whatever effect I'm trying to get off, I'm going to force it through. And the scariest thing your opponent can see is it's in an arsenal, it gets flipped over, your next action get go again, and then just sits in arsenal. And your opponent knows at any point in time, if they perfect block, you can just be like, Lightning Press. And they cannot do anything about it unless they have a D-React. So then they're probably giving you a 3rd card, which is exactly what you want. Because then they have either 1 card in hand, an arsenal, or just 1 card in hand, like, period. And at that point, you are extremely happy. Because your turn is probably not over, you're going to be able to force do more damage and stuff, and you'll just get tempo back. So this is pretty good, and that's the reason I call this utility. Because it says, whatever one-hit effect I am controlling for, I'm going to make this easier on myself. Next we have Channel Lake. You guys already know Channel Lake. Channel Lake's an insane card. We were running, I don't remember the exact blue count, but I believe it is 18. I could be wrong. I'll have to recheck that. That's just off the top of my head how many I'm running. But obviously, Channel Lake's a huge card. It holds a lot of decks, and you can keep it at least 2 turns pretty consistently and still be playing your regular game plan. Obviously, it is harder to do this than it is like an Odom and Icelander, but it's not impossible. But this card literally just says, alright man, I hope you have fun attacking me once, maybe twice, and I'm going to attack you way more than that. And there's not much more I can say about Channel Lake, honestly. Just good card. Lastly, we have Winter's Bite. I changed a lot between 2 and 3. For this tournament, I was on 3. Because I expect a lot of aggro. And this card, if you go reveal it in Arsenal, give you a Frostbite, take a card from your hand, now you're running a 3-card hand, and you have a Frostbite. It makes a lot of turns very, very awkward for your opponent. And it also just being a blue pitch, exactly what we want. This card is pretty much does everything Ice Lexi would like to see. Not much more I can say about it. The only downside is it blocks for 2, which has hurt me a lot in some matchups. But this card, realistically, actually blocks for like 3 and 4. And it's not printed on the card 3 or 4. It's, I'm going to take a card from your hand that can attack me for 3 or 4. And that's like the really big value of this card. Very nice. Lastly, we have the power cards, and these are grouped into 3 cards. We have Rain Ragers, 3 of a kind, Art of War. Can't really see the Art of War. It's maybe, can I do it like that, maybe? Hold on. Why are these the power cards, right? These are the cards that allow you to go wide and very tall, right? So starting with Art of War, a very diverse card. The most common mode you're going to be doing with this is +1/+1 all your attacks, banish draw 2. Very efficient card, especially if you're using Tunic, so you don't have to use a card from your hand. It's very nice. I did find myself in this tournament actually just giving stuff go again. Because one of the most awkward things you can run into this deck is you have a card, arrow in Arsenal, and then the only card in your hand is another arrow, and then you kind of have to Arsenal on it. And if you really just don't, if you don't want to Snapdragons, or you already have Snapdragons, sometimes you're actually going to lose a lot of tempo. So being able to go Art of War, give my next attack go again, then what other mode you choose, is really sick. I also found myself playing this defensively, too. Like, I can block with a card from Arsenal, banish draw 2. allowed me to block a lot more damage than I thought I'd be able to, and it helped me survive a lot of big storms from Dech. So, Art of War, big card, love the card, play it. There are a few matchups where I actually found myself not playing it. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. But even though this card is sick and it's in 90% of matchups, there are a few matchups that, whenever I come out with part 2 of this guide, which will be the sideboard guide, I will try to mention. Next we have 3 Rain Razor. Very simple card. Arrows get +2 while attacking this turn. Not much more I can say. This is how we force you a lot of damage, especially on our very wide turns. This equates to a lot of damage, and you will see a big difference on your Rain Razor turns rather than your not. So like if your turn is like bolt and shot into like Dazzler Crescendo into like a fatigue shot or something, that's gonna be 5, 9, 14 damage. And then if you just added a Rain Razor to that, that is now 20 damage with on-hit effects. And that's just a big difference, because that's half of someone's life just on a combat chain. And that's kind of what you set up for. This is like a really big arsenal target. Is just running this out randomly is not very good, but being able to set this up with like a 6-card hand and being Rain Razors is just massive. So I would never run this out unless specifically there's an on-hit effect that is huge enough to go, like again, a fatigue shot, a Chilling Ice Fang, or something like that. Like a card that will like say I am now gonna win from this turn. You can just use this as an attack reaction, but oftentimes I'm not using this on your very go big turns. Next, we have one of the best cards in the game. We have 3 of a kind. Every single hero wish they could just draw 3 on demand, and luckily we can do it. With the small downside, if I can only play cards from Arsenal, which is primarily what we do anyway, there can be times where you get very clubbed by this, where you can go draw this, like, you can draw Arrow, Ice Quake Channel, like Frigid, and you're just like, well, that kind of sucks. But literally at worst, you're still digging 3 cards deeper into your deck to find your other good stuff, and you can always just use them to set up. Obviously, big thing is just, one thing I did this this tournament, and a lot of people was just like, oh, wait, you can do that? I was like, yes. So I would play 3 of a kind, maintain priority Rain Razors. Whenever I would have like 2 cards in Arsenal and like a card in hand, and I was now going to draw 3 cards. And if I could attack a minimum of 3 times, I just had 6 damage to my turn. And this just gives you so much more gas. And then obviously the more cards you can draw, the better this combo gets. So this is a fantastic card. This card gets even better. Obviously, if you can just use your chain of resource for this, it just, it's chef's kiss sometimes, man. Just maybe use your chain of resource for this. Now, one big tip I want to give you with this, and it's really hard to like get this mindset down. And obviously, every game won't work like this, but this is how the majority of games you want. These are cards you want to arsenal. You want to arsenal these, you really don't want these in hand. You want to be able to save these, to play this with a full grip. And the biggest tip I got from Yuki, and I want to pass this along to everyone, is if you really want to see those big turns, is don't play one without the other. And what this means is, if I have an Art of War, I'm never going to play Art of War unless it's obviously super convenient there, without being able to play a Rain Razors or a 3 of a kind. I'm never going to play a 3 of a kind if I can't play a Rain Razors or an Art of War. I'm never going to play Rain Razors if I can't Art of War 3 of a kind that turn. And that's just how you get those big swingy turns that Lexi can have, is when you combine your power cards. Yeah, it's 9 cards in the deck, but again, because you can go through your deck decently fast, you will see these. And like I said, they're really good together. If you have to just, because there are times where I just was like, I have to just fire off the 3 of a kind and see what happens. Yeah, that'll happen. But most of the time, I combine these, and that's how I got big turns. And my opponent was just gets blown by it, and I secured a win based off of doing that specific thing alone. So that's gonna be the end of the this portion of the deck tech. There will be a part 2 where we go over sideboarding and stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed, honestly. Lexi is a deck that I've been akin to. I love all of the ice that's in this game. I love how it plays. I love Telzar. Telzar is actually my favorite set, and that is where Lexi came from. And I think more people should play this deck. And I'm glad that when I was there was a lot of people on Lexi. Fortunately, I had to play Lexi Mirror, which is not fun for anyone, but Hero's good. Hero's very flexible. You can be played into a lot of metas. The big thing about this is Lexi will never be a problem. She will always be a solution. I never will see her as a tier S deck or the best deck in the format. She is always there to put the best deck in the format in check. Which is what she's aiming right now. There's a lot of aggro in the format, and she's there to say, hey, you know what would be cool is if you didn't play any cards and I still dealt damage to you every single turn. I got your whole entire hand every single turn and still did damage. And that is what we aim to do in this deck. Obviously, changes, I'm going to be making, I'll be adding Blue Lightning Surge, definitely. Like, that's 100%. I know I'm going to be doing that. And then possibly Rainbow Chung Ice Fang, possibly Red Blizzard Bolt, just depending on where I see my meta shaping up. But right now, this deck performed very well for me. A lot of people wanted to see what the list looked like and thoughts on it, so here you guys go. It's been your boy Simon from Siphon TCG, and say it with me, all my homies and illusionists. Peace out.